When I started playing Overwatch at release, I was pretty bad, but I've never really been good at FPS games anyway. I didn't really have a main, I just played different DPS and tank heroes randomly, and I ended up hovering around gold rank for years, until I was introduced to what the community called Reddit Lucio. People were posting clips of crazy rollouts and insane environmental kills, to the point where that basically became the character's playstyle. You wouldn't heal the team at all, instead you'd play like a third DPS, flanking enemies and booping people off the map. Red Shell, Frogger and SK were some of the creators who helped me learn the ins and outs of becoming a Reddit Lucio, and after a lot of trial and error and a lot of griefing at the start, this playstyle eventually got me to Diamond 1, which isn't the best rank, but for someone who had been gold for years, I felt pretty good about it. More importantly, I was having so much fun. I found a playstyle I loved and I was getting good results with it too. It took a lot of time and effort to learn the movement, the rollouts, everything, but it was finally paying off. Then in 2022, Overwatch 2 came out. They heavily nerfed boop by introducing massive buffs to DI, or directional input, which means if the enemy holds movement keys in the opposite direction of your boop, they barely move at all. They can even do this in midair, so even if you get a good boop, they can just glide back to the platform instead of falling to their death. But on top of the DI changes, Overwatch has a serious movement creep problem. They gave a bunch of heroes movement abilities that completely invalidate boop, like Hanzo getting a double jump or Cassidy being able to roll in midair. And they haven't released a single support hero without a get out of jail free card against boop since the launch of Overwatch 2. This was the support lineup in Overwatch 1. Other than Mercy, every single one of these heroes died to a boop. But since Overwatch 2 launched, they've added Kiriko, who can teleport, Illari, who has her shift, Wujang, who has his shift, Life Weaver, who has a dash, and Juno, who just straight up flies. And now with the most recent update, Mizuki, who has his shift, and Jetpack Cat, who you can't even boop at all. Not only that, Lucio's projectiles are way too slow to hit anyone in the air, so you can't even interact with this character. Not only is the boop heavily affected, but the flanking playstyle has also been demolished in Overwatch 2. They increased projectile sizes for everyone, so it is much harder to outplay your enemy with movement anymore. And since so many heroes had their health increased from 200 to 250, you can't realistically secure kills as Lucio anymore. In Overwatch 1, you could sneak up on someone, get a few shots in before they noticed you, and then finish them off with a boop and a melee. But once the enemy notices you, it becomes insanely hard to hit them with Lucio's low projectiles anymore. With the health changes, I can confidently say that the amount of 1v1s I win has dropped from around 60% to maybe 20%. And on top of all that, the ping system has made flanking nearly impossible. Lucio's skates are some of the loudest things in the entire game, and it only takes one person to notice you before the entire enemy team is targeting you. And I know support Lucio is still decent. You can sit in the backline, turret enemies, and do okay damage, and use your speed boost to engage or disengage your team when needed. But that kind of playstyle isn't what made me fall in love with Lucio. I understand that for the majority of players, these updates are probably good and some well-needed changes, and that the general player base do not care about the viability of Reddit Lucio. But I spent a lot of hours honing my craft to play like this, to have crazy movement and go for game-saving environmental kills. Anyone can stand with their team healing them and turreting with their gun. I could play against a Lucio with 2 hours of playtime and you would have no idea who's the better Lucio. And now there's a character who is even more mobile than Lucio and doesn't even have the kind of learning curve like wall riding does. And Lucio still keeps getting nerfed. His boop cooldown went from 4 to 5 seconds and the knockback just feels so weak compared to what it used to be. And they just keep adding airborne heroes that you can't even interact with. I believe now that Overwatch has introduced Jetpack Cat, movement creep is only going to get worse from here on out, slowly turning Lucio into a meme with each update making his low projectiles, wall riding and boop less relevant. Not to mention the fact that he still has to hit the ground in order to beat, which is insane to me. Life Weaver and Mizuki can use their ultimates freely, and I would say they are comparable in strength to Lucio's beat. Here's a clip literally showcasing all of my problems with this game in a single instance. I go for a big boop, which would also hit the cat, but because she can fly, she's unaffected. I still hit 2 enemies, and they are both flying towards the pit. Orisa simply DIs back to the bridge, and Illari uses her shift to get out. I then go for the beat in attempt to live, but I die mid-air before hitting the ground, completely wasting my ultimate. It is just not worth going for these types of plays anymore. But in Overwatch 1, all of those 3 people would have been dead. Lucio has lost its magic, and it is just not fun to play Overwatch anymore in its current state. If I even tried to do the things that used to reward me, I would just be griefing and people would just tell me to switch to something else. But I don't even want to play anything else. This character is the reason I got to this rank in the first place. And I do not want to learn other characters because I do not love Overwatch. I just love playing Reddit Lucio, and that's not an option anymore, so I quit. Also, 2 of the 3 people I mentioned earlier who inspired me to learn Reddit Lucio have quit the game. SK herself has 2 rant videos pretty much voicing all the same issues I have with the game, and she's like the best Lucio to ever play the game, in case you think I'm just wrong. For some reason I was hopeful that maybe Lucio would one day feel like his old self again, but now seeing all the characters floating in the sky, it is pretty clear that it is just not going to happen. People I know personally who also play Overwatch have been listening to me complain about this for years now, and my girlfriend actually said that what if Lucio's boob would paralyze them so they wouldn't be able to use their movement abilities for a while, and I thought that's a brilliant idea. Blizzard could rework the minor perk where you get 25% increased knockback and damage on your boob when wall riding, and replace that damage with disabling enemy movement abilities for 1 second. And what if it could disable jetpack cats flying like a nano dart, so you could wall ride above her and just dunk her with a boob? If they made that happen, I think Overwatch would become my favorite game once again, to at least have a fighting chance against the cat. I am going to play my placements one final time, and no matter how much I get flamed or how poorly I perform, I do not want to just stand there hoping that my team will carry me to victory. I want to at least try to be the carry again one final time, even when I know it's not possible, but I don't care. Let's do it. One last Reddit Lucio.